and a whole psychic mini workshop series here on live Facebook Wednesday afternoon at 12:30 high noon here in Australia. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome you wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. It's Wednesday and we're up to workshop number 36. How amazing is that? And today's workshop is going to be the full moon in Taurus. So I know that that's an exciting topic, and we cover the full moon every month, plus the new moon and anything else that might be exciting that's happening around the world. So let me clear up some T's and C's before we start. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome you all again, joining us here live each week. If you're a familiar viewer, you'll know that my protocol on the program is not to give live shout outs as we're going through the segment, because that way it detracts from my concentration on what I need to be discussing in this very short time we have together. But also, it's not a show about where I do free readings. If you want the opportunity for a free reading, can I suggest that you tune into my previous show on high noon on a Wednesday here in Australia? So you'll need to look at that up wherever you are around this amazing globe of ours, with A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV. So if you go to my website or onto my Facebook page, you'll find the details for how to connect with A1R Psychic Radio, and you can pop your name down on their list. I do a half-hour show out of the Washington district every Wednesday or Tuesday night, as it is in the US, just prior to my Facebook Live presentation. And there I do perform a couple of free readings for our viewers and listeners on that show. So going back to the topic at hand, this week we're working with the full moon in Taurus. Now, the full moon comes up at least once a month. Every 28 to 30 days, we all have a full moon. And, you know, it always affects people in very varied and many different ways. And I hear lots of people sort of ask about, how does the full moon affect them? Why would it affect me? Some people say, oh, Amanda, I can't sleep. I have really trouble sort of trying to concentrate and thinking about what I'm doing. And why does this happen to me on a moon cycle? Well, it's a very, very simple answer. We are all emotional beings, whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not. We are emotional, and we are affected by the pull and the tide of the moon cycles. So if you learn to work with and understand the moon cycles that happen monthly, you learn to understand then when's the best time to make decisions for yourself, when's the best time to pack up and go to the beach or go to the bush or have a couple of days downtime. And some people find that they get terribly creative when the moon in a full moon cycle or in a new moon cycle. For me, I really personally probably don't notice that much difference one way or the other, I suppose, because I work with energy on such a strong level that the moon cycles don't affect me quite as much as some of my other colleagues in the industry I know do. They sort of say to me that they really just can't sleep for 48 hours leading up to a full moon. I personally don't have that problem, but that doesn't mean that I'm not affected by certain moons or understand the energy of how this particular full moon is going to affect us all. So this particular full moon is a very different full moon from some of the other 12 and other 11 full moons that we experience, besides this one making 12, is that this is a time where we really need to be very aware of what it is that we're hoping to release. Now, let's be very clear for people that might not have ever tuned in before and don't understand what a full moon energy is. The full moon, in my opinion, is a time when we release anything that we've built up, that we've stored up, that we're now ready to let go of or throw out or discard in our lives. This is the time that we do it. Lots of people that work with crystals and other things like to put their crystals out under the full moon in their pot plant or whatever. I'm not a crystal person. I'm not nowhere near a crystal expert. And if you asked me what to do with a crystal, I'd probably say to you, I really don't know. Occasionally I take some of mine down and bath them in the salt water, and I don't even necessarily make it on a full moon. It's just when I get the urge. So I really don't know enough to speak about crystals. So if you want to do that, I think you need to look for another expert. That's not my expertise. But for those of you that want to just work with the pure energy as I do, the full moon is a time of release. It's a time of release and renewal. So because the full moon this month is in Taurus, we need to get to understand how this sort of works. I like to look at astrology as a series of Lego blocks, where we're taking, each block has its own power in its own right, but we're going to add them up together or stack them on top of each other, and then that gives us the result or the answer or we blend it all together like we would if we were making a cake. We put all the different ingredients in, and then we have the end result of a beautiful cake that we all share. Well, it's the same sort of thing when we start working with energy and astrology. So we take the basic energy of the full moon, which is what I've spoken about, is about a time of gathering things up and releasing them. But I also believe when we release, we must also back it up with replacing it with something new. So if we're going to be gathering up things, then we need to be looking at what sort of things are we gathering up with this full moon. And because we're working with the Taurian energy, we need to understand what the Taurus energy means. And it doesn't mean that if you're not a Taurus, you can't work with this moon. It just means for our Taurian friends that it's the energy is stronger for them and maybe makes them feel more empowered or more in tune with themselves, or just more stubborn and more pig-headed and maybe a little bit more cranky, or they might be finding that they're reaching for the lolly jar or the sweet jar a little bit more because it's an emotional driven thing. And Taurian energy does like the finer things in life. They love comfort, they love their food, and they particularly like food that is satisfying. They're not the sort of people that you serve up a salad to and say that's your main course. They'd sort of say, well, that's rabbit food. That was a good entree. What's for dinner? Where's the main course? You know, they need something sort of substantial. They're the type of people that like to come home from work at the end of the day and have a hearty meal on the table or enjoy a hearty meal. But they also have a very sweet tooth. And you quite often find with the Taurian energy, we can all, no matter what star sign we are, maybe lean towards looking for something sweet or giving ourselves a treat of some kind because we emotionally feel we deserve it, or it's going to be a bit of a pick-me-up. So just be a little bit careful of that. If you're finding that you're sort of looking to reach for something like that, stop and ask yourself, do you really need it? What is the reasons behind wanting to give yourself that sweet treat? Is it just really that you really fancy it? Or is it been 6 months since you've had one and you think, well, that would be nice? Or are you doing it out of an emotional response because something's troubling you and you're doing it without really thinking about it? That's the first thing I'd like to share with you on the Taurian front. But the Taurian energy, look, most people think of Tauruses and they think of money. They think of, you know, they're so obsessed by money that money is their first love, their last love, and every love in between. Well, that's not necessarily untrue. Yes, Taurian is very focused on money and what's mine's mine and what's yours is mine. And did I tell you that's mine as well? Because it's about looking after it. They sort of want to make sure that, you know, there's enough to go round, and they don't like to be short of money. So therefore they feel if they're in the driver's seat looking after the finances, whether it's yours or mine or theirs, and it all becomes theirs, that they're the best one to handle the money, because they always like to have some put away for a rainy day. They really like to make sure that resources and money as a resource is used properly and carefully and not squandered. But the other important part of the Taurian energy, which I think gets lost in the wish-wash of what people are sort of trying to remember about Tauruses, is that they are very highly principled people. And principles are probably the most important thing to them. That they like to live their life by a certain set of rules and regulations. Yes, they might be slow to make a decision, but guaranteed when they make the decision, it'll be right. It'll be backed up by some very good arguments for the reasons why they've made this decision. And they also like to be incredibly fair. They like to make sure that the rules that they live by are their rules, and they don't expect anybody else to live up to something that they wouldn't do themselves. So it's a very personal thing for them. They're not frightened to change their mind or modify or make suggestions or, you know, say, well, okay, that was my belief back in 1992, but here in 2018, I've changed my version of my rule a little bit because it's, you know, it's evolved into this. They're not frightened to do that, but they just don't like people that can't be upfront, honest and open and straight down the line with them. They'd rather you sort of be straight down the line and upset them or hurt their feelings than they would than if you lied to them and didn't tell them the truth. They like to sit there and study things. Yes, they're an earth sign, so things do come slowly. I wouldn't like to anger a Taurian because they have two different types of anger. They have a short-term fuse anger that sort of like we all have when we get frustrated with something, but the real Taurian anger or the real Taurian temper, if you want to put it that way, is that of, you know, the bull scratching on the ground, getting ready to charge. And by heavens, when they get to that point, watch out, because that sort of anger is something that doesn't die down quickly. Luckily, they don't lose their temper very easily or very often in their life. So that's an important thing. So how would we be working with this full moon? So we'd be looking at this full moon in a way of what other things that I need to release. If we work upon the score of releasing, say, a minimum of 3 things that we're going to put down our list, you can put 10 or 20 or 35 if you want, but let's just work on something simple for those of you that it might be your first time doing this. I want you to write down 3 things. And they can be in bullet points. They don't need to be, we don't need to write a novel about it, but 3 things that you might feel that you're now ready to release. So it could be that you've changed the way that you look at how you want to live your life. Say you've modified your behavior on recycling, say, for argument's sake, where you were always against it. You thought it was a waste of money and you couldn't understand why people sort of did it, but now you can see the benefit in it and the benefit of the planet. So you could write that down. I'm just using that as an example. Most times it's things that are very personal to us. It's things that we're looking to change in our lives or things that we're ready to release. Now, we can put finances or debt into this as well. If you're a person that's very heavily in debt and, you know, and this is very consuming and it's, you know, you want to find some answers on ways of reducing your debt, well, then you could put something on your list in a way of having some creative ideas or some inspiration or some help on how to reduce your debt. You're willing to work towards making this a reality, but you would like some suggestions. So it's sort of releasing it to the universe that I want to release myself from this incumbent debt that I have, but I'm prepared to do the work to make it happen. Don't sit there and say, I want to release it because I want to win the lotto or the lottery. That's not how it works. You know, we still have to put some effort into it. If you're lucky enough to win money, that's terrific. But for most of us on the planet, we have to work at what we've done. We worked hard to get ourselves into so much debt. Well, now we've got to work hard to get ourselves out of the debt. So when you've written your 3 things on your list that you want to release, I would like you to replace that with 3 things you would like to attract towards you. So again, we can be working upon the score of attracting extra money to help reduce our credit card debt or our mortgage or whatever the case may be, that we can be open to new suggestions of ways to earn an income, or I might be looking for a new job or whatever it is. Sometimes I feel we don't need to be sort of quite so specific that I'd like a new job, because sometimes when we get the new job, it's maybe not what we wanted it to be anyway. So maybe sort of leave it a little bit broader, that I'm open to suggestions from the universe at how I can improve my finances going forward. I'm ready, willing, and open to look at new ideas, so that we open it up to a much broader spectrum than what we did before. But it could be something as simple as, you know, like you're looking at sort of, you know, like you're starting a hobby business, you know, is that the way forward? Is that going to give you some extra income? You know, sometimes ideas come randomly from conversations with other people and things that we never thought possible that we could turn into an income revenue stream. So let's be open to new ideas. So we need to go on to how we would work with this in a candle situation, because we have here at Amanda Hall Psychic, we have 27 candles in our range. And this is our full moon candle. So we would write one list that we've just spoken about with 3 things on we're releasing and 3 things we'd like to attract towards us. We would write a duplicate list because we would be working with 2 candles in this case. This is the full moon candle. Now, how I like to work with a full moon candle is I like to work with 2 days on the approach, 3 days of the full moon, which is about to happen to early hours of tomorrow morning here in Australia, and then 2 days of the decline or the descending of the full moon. So it's roughly a 7-day cycle, but it doesn't mean that you can't start writing your list today and get ready to start burning your candle tonight. For those of you that have my candle, you'll know the rules. 15 minutes to 2 hours a day, pop your list under the candle, always putting it on a coaster, never putting it directly on furniture because you may scorch the table. And never leave a candle unattended, under air conditioning, under fans, near children and animals, and always make sure that you babysit the candle. So that's why I say 15 minutes meditating or focusing on the flame of the candle when it's burning, reaffirming what you've got on your list. You've read it out aloud, but you can keep reaffirming that in your mind so that we're setting the definite direction, purpose, and intent. out to the universe to, or whoever you believe in, to help achieve this. Now, with our extra large candles, they have a dual wick system in them. I like to burn one side one day and one side the next day. I'm a little bit of a tidy pants when it comes to things like that. I have a Taurus ascendant, so I'm very mindful of everybody else's money as well as my own. And this way it sort of nearly doubles your candle length time. But also sometimes, and I've only ever had this happen once, that one of my candles broke and, you know, it split. And that sort of made me think that maybe the candle glass container sometimes can get a little bit too hot. And with the changes in temperature, which we can have here in Queensland, particularly in the summer, where one minute it's stiflingly hot and then the next minute we're going to get an afternoon thunderstorm. And that was when my candle cracked with the drop in the barometric pressure. After that, I started lighting my candle one side one day and one side the next day. And you know, and I tested it on many different candles, and, you know, it increased your burn time from 50 hours to probably 100 hours or close to 100 hours. So it makes it a much more economical sort of burn time. So that's our full moon candle. And for those of you that are working with the Taurian energy, you would also be working with your earth sign candle. So your earth sign candle actually goes for your Taurus, your Virgo, and your Capricorn energy. So having that, you know, you get to use that at least, you know, 6 times a year if you're not an earth sign person, when you look at the 3 full moons in the earth and 3 new moons in earth. So, you know, it makes it an economical buy to buy one of each, so that you've got, you know, if you starting out and you want to sort of work with the moon cycles, you know, buy a full moon candle, buy a new moon candle, and then get the 4 signs, you know, elements of the astrology. Instead of us designing 12 separate candles, we only designed 4, so that then that covered the 3 earth signs, or the 3 air signs, the 3 water, the 3 fire, so that it made it a much more economical purchase for people to be able to work with the moon sign energy. So, you know, you can take it sort of slowly and do that. Same principles apply. Writing your list out, reading it out aloud, burning alternate sides of the candle, and that sort of helps to do that, and you need to be following the same rules. For those of you that might want a smaller candle set, can I suggest this one? This is what's known as our travel kit. Now, our travel kit I've made up this week of 2 full moon and the earth sign in the middle. But you can make this up with any 3 candles of your choice. You could say sort of buy a full moon candle, a new moon candle, and a particular astrology candle in the middle, or you could put, you know, an angels and guides, or a love candle, or a wealth candle, whatever you choose it to be. Now, these come in a travel kit. Easy to work with. You get about 15-hour burn time out of there. So same principles apply. Write your list, read it out aloud, pop it on the coaster, light your candle, and they're terrific to use, you know, at work or in confined areas. You can take them traveling. They're just a perfect size. For those of you that don't want to work with a flame, can I suggest a melt warmer? You can pick these up at the supermarket here in Australia. They're retail for around about $15. They are electric. Mine has a little button on the side. So what I do with those is I put half a teaspoon of my full moon wax in there and half a teaspoon of my Taurus wax in there, and I melt it that way, so that then I've got the benefits of both of them. I only need to write one list. I can safely leave this going in my home or in my office while I'm there, and only have to flick the switch off at the end of the day. So you still get the same intent, direction, and purpose, because you're reading it out aloud as you go to fire it up every day, and using the 7-day cycle of the moon cycle. And when you need to change the wax, it's got a little dish that you can remove from the top. I pop mine in the freezer for a minute or 2, makes the wax go hard, and then I just, you know, run a plastic knife underneath it and it pops out, and I wash it up in hot soapy water and let it dry again, and get back to room temperature, and then you're ready to go with your different wax. So that's how we work with that. So on next week's show, we're going to have an extra special workshop next week. It's Simply Tarot's 13th birthday, so we're going to have the Simply Tarot workshop next week, and it falls on Halloween, which was when it was launched 13 years ago on Halloween. So we'll be having an extra special birthday workshop and working with the tarot cards, and obviously working with the Simply Tarot candle as well. But we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about readings and how they come about, and what we need to do to prepare for readings and things like that. So please tune in, tell all your friends next week about Simply Tarot's 13th birthday. I'm going to be like the proud mum talking about my baby. So it's been absolutely fantastic to have everybody here with us. And for those of you that might want to get a personal reading with me, you can head to my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. When you're at the checkout, if you type in the coupon box in capital letters Facebook, you will get a discount. Now that discount will apply to every product in our store, any service that you might want. You will get a discount. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Here in Australia, we do offer free postage, but for our overseas family, I'm sorry, we're not able to do that. But what we do offer is a flat fee. No matter how much product or merchandise you purchase, it is just a flat fee anywhere in the world. That was the best arrangement that we could come to be as fair as possible, because the shipping costs from Australia around the world are very, very expensive. And that was, we sat down with the shipping company and we came up with a price that we could accommodate around the world, and it didn't matter how much product that you bought. That was the best way we could offer you. As you know, we can't offer free postage, but that's the next best thing. For those of you that might like to sign up for a free astrology chart, as you go into my website, you'll have a little page that'll flash up on top of the screen that says, you know, sign up here for a free astrology chart. So signing up to our newsletter, which I must admit I've been very slack lately and haven't done one, because I've been working on the back end of our new website, which is very time consuming for anybody that knows anything about websites. I'm still learning. But doing the SEO part of it myself has been extremely time consuming, and I'm still not finished. So I haven't really sat down and done a weekly newsletter, but I promise I will get back to it soon, because I like to keep everybody up to date with what's going on and have some extra specials for people that are just purely in our newsletter family. So you're more than welcome to sign up for that. We will send you your free personal astrology chart anywhere in the world in a PDF formula. So on next week's show, as I've talked about, it's going to be simply Taro's 13th birthday. I can't wait. And it's just going to be an absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody. If you want to leave your name and say hi and wave and whatever, I will get back to you in the next 48 hours. Each week, I get so many wonderful messages from all of you about how, you know, working with the candles or working with the workshop or working with the energy is helping you. It's helping you sort of come to terms with things. And for those of you that it might be your very first time here, I say welcome. I do have a Facebook page set up called Shows and Workshops, where you can go back and binge watch all my previous shows from A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV, and also all my previous workshops. They're all in one spot. So that way then, you know, sometimes we can't always get to the live event because, you know, it's not suitable. You're at work or you've got children or other commitments, but you can always go and play catch up. And we do really appreciate each and every one of you. And our formula for these workshops is once a month we do the full moon. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be probably working with the new moon, but we do other workshops around that fill in with other topics in the psychic areas. And yes, we do always feature a soy candle, but that's part of the workshop series, is showing you how to work with the soy candles, why I design certain candles for certain reasons. And this is giving me the platform now to be able to turn them into mini workshops to share with you, and share with you some of my extensive knowledge, as I've been in the psychic industry here in Australia for over 40 years. I was inducted into the Psychic Hall of Fame back in 2013, and I've won Psychic of the Year 4 years in a row, voted by the public. So I'm very flattered and very humbled by that, and can hope that I can only continue to live up to everybody's expectations in my work. But it's a real honour and a real pleasure for me to be able to do this and to be able to work with you each week. And I really, really do enjoy it. And I do say thank you from the bottom of my heart to each and every one of you, because without you, you know, it wouldn't make my job any easier without having some recognition from you and letting me know that how much these workshops and shows that I put on here on Facebook and with A1R Psychic Radio are really helping to change the way that you think. Now, for those of you that may not have my candle and say, oh, well, that's very fine, Amanda, but how am I going to work with the full moon energy if I don't have your candles and I don't have time to get them here by tonight? What can I suggest to you? Whatever candles you may have around the house, whether they're ones you've got stashed in the cupboard that people have bought you and have been nice presents or whatever, or you've just even got a white household grade candle, can I suggest to you, if this is your candle, hold your candle, close your eyes, and imagine that you're putting in there that energy that we've been talking about, the full moon in Taurus energy. I'm turning my white candle into my full moon in Taurus energy candle. And doing that and following the steps that I've taught you today, you can put the same energy, the same intent, purpose and direction into the candle. Yes, it may not be quite as powerful as it is with the candles that I've personally designed and personally, you know, have had them colored and fragrance and Reiki and everything like that put into them to empower them with the intent, purpose, and direction of the actual subject. But you, with the power of your mind, can empower your candle for you. So until next week, I hope that you enjoy whatever you're doing around this globe of ours. And don't forget to keep smiling and be kind to each other, because Taurian energy is about being nice and being gentle and being kind to other people. Not everybody is having a great week. So keep a smile on your face. Until next week, bye for now.